Hello everyone and welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be going over how to get an Amazon, Dell, and Walmart business credit card without a personal guarantee. I get a lot of these questions. A lot of people will tell me that they apply for a specific card at a specific store and get denied. And I've always wanted to do a webinar like this or a show like this, but I never have before because honestly this stuff changes. It's like hitting a moving target. So keep in mind what I'm about to teach you today. I'm about to reveal underwriting guidelines for vendors to get you here and for these actual revolving sources. But these change all the time. Even just very recently, Discover stopped underwriting business credit cards without a personal guarantee. So a lot of these changes take place on an ongoing basis. It really requires our company to hire somebody full-time just to keep up with all of our sources and their ever-changing guidelines. But as of this point in time, this is good, accurate information that can walk you through how to get these type of accounts. So before we jump in too far, let me introduce myself. My name's Ty Crandall. I'm actually the Director of Business Services here at Credit Suite. And what we do is we help customers get business credit and financing. We also help our clients actually offer business credit and financing as a service. So we've helped, nearly 10,000 people build business credit, get financing. I'm very versed on the subject. I'm not going to be talking today about how you get started with us, any of that. I don't like to pitch or sell at my actual shows. I actually just want to give you straight information for an hour. But if you are interested in learning more about how we can help you build your business credit financing, feel free to check us out. Our main website is creditsuite.com/business credit, and that'll take you right to a page that'll give you a good idea of what we can do to actually help you get business credit financing for your business and also to help customers and earn money in doing the same for your customers. So let's get started. Now this is going to be a walkthrough of the entire process. So some of you are already different stages in this process. You already have your company set up. Maybe some of you have vendor accounts, maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you are just getting stuck on the revolving account. So there's a lot of different people on here that are in different places. So today I'm going to walk you through the entire process, soup to nuts per se, exactly how you go from just setting up a company all the way to getting to a point where you can get these credit cards. So again, some of this in the beginning might not apply to you, but pay still close attention because I'm about to show you the stuff that you need to know to do it correctly so you don't get stuck. So you might fail because you don't do one of these things. So let's dive in. So first of all, if you're not familiar with business credit, we're talking about business credit being credit in your company name. This is credit that's linked to your EIN, not your social security number. A lot of people get confused. A lot of people think because they have a debit card or credit card in their business name that it's real business credit, and that's just not the case. If you have real business credit, you're getting credit without providing your social security number on the application. It's as simple as that. This is credit that you build for your EIN, and once strong enough, you use your EIN to go in and apply for the credit, leaving your social security number off the application. And since in most cases, if you're doing it correctly, you're not even including your social, then there's no personal credit check to get approved whatsoever because, again, without your social, they can't really even pull your personal credit. And you can also get approved with most of this without a personal guarantee. Now, what does that mean? That means you're not personally liable for your business debts. So if you ever default on the card, then they're not going to come after your personal assets. They can only come after the assets of the business. Now, as you're about to see today, I'm going to show you both ways. These credit cards you can get approved without a personal guarantee. It takes maybe a little bit longer. You have to have a little bit more established to get them done. You can also easily get these accounts for your business with a personal guarantee until you get your business credit further established. So I'll show you that both ways. It'll make a little bit more sense as we dive in. Now, there's a ton of benefits with business credit. First of all, there's no link to consumer credit. So there's no personal credit check, as I mentioned, and accounts don't report to the consumer reporting agencies. This is a huge, huge deal. Most people aren't familiar with how the FICO score works, and I won't walk through the whole score model, but I will tell you this. 30% of the credit score is based on utilization. To give you comparison, 35% of FICO is based on your payment history. So that means what percentage of your credit card limit you're using actually is almost equivalent in importance to your score to whether you pay your bill on time or not. It's a really big deal. So because of that, if you went out and got a Staples credit card and you signed personally and it reported on your personal credit report and the limit was $1,000, anything more than 30% of that limit could damage your scores. Not could, will damage your scores. So if your limit was $1,000 and you owed more than $300, then you would actually be lowering your consumer credit scores. This is why you never want to use your consumer credit for business purposes, because as a business you have an appetite to use more credit, and if you do that and you utilize that over 30%, you'll lower your consumer scores, which hurts your ability to get loans and other things on the personal side. There's no personal guarantee. So again, we already talked about that. One of the big benefits is that you can get money without being personally liable for your business debts. And by the way, this is how all the big boys do it. If you look at the largest private and public companies, not one of their CEOs or owners personally guarantees their debt. Every company that gets big and successful eventually has to rely on its own company credit to grow and not the individual, because the company quickly outgrows the individual's credit. So I still see some people out there that say, I don't need this and I'm going to use my own cash. Well, you can't. Eventually in business you get so big that you have to have access to money to get bigger. And in doing so, you'd never want to personally guarantee because the business just outgrows your personal credit. Credit limits are 10 to 100 times higher than with consumer credit, with business credit accounts. This means if you might get a Staples credit card right now on the personal side with a $1,000 limit, with business credit, you're probably getting a $10,000 to $100,000 limit. And again, this is because businesses just have a much greater appetite and need for credit than an individual does. You could build business credit and get a score fast. This is what I love about business credit. A lot of people out there are looking for money, but the problem is if you have no collateral and you don't have cash flow, you don't have good credit, you're not going to get business financing. It doesn't exist. And a lot of people we run into are in that scenario. Well, what's beautiful about business credit is you could start today with what I'm about to show you, and you can start getting Visa cards and MasterCards with $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 limits within 6 months from starting with nothing. And that's because business credit scores are based only on your payment history. So if you follow the steps I'm going to walk you through today, you could easily build your business credit profile, get an excellent score because you just paid your bills on time, and then in return that helps you get to store credit and cash credit very, very quickly, and again with much higher limits than you would ever find on the consumer side. Having business credit increases the value of your company. That's a given. Okay, I have actually been blessed to be able to sell businesses of mine in the past and grow them and sell them, and I've actually now, a shareholder in multiple companies. And I can tell you one thing, that if I'm going to buy a company or if I'm going to sell a company, I know that the buyer is looking at business credit because anybody can. Unlike consumer credit where somebody has to have permissible purpose to pull your credit report, with business credit anybody can get it. So if you were going to buy a business, you would want to get the credit report on that business because it tells you how much credit they have, what credit limits they are they late, are they on time. Any of this is publicly accessible. Anybody can get it. So you definitely want to build your business credit if you ever think about going public, if you ever think about selling, because business credit is an important part of being able to actually get in there and sell the business for the utmost value that you want. You won't need financials or collateral for approval. This is important to me because a lot of the clients we see don't have this, and this is why they can't get SBA loans. This is why they can't just walk in their bank and get money, because they don't have collateral. And a lot of them write off most of the expenses that they have, and they don't have really big net profits. But in the lending world, that's what they look at. They want to see net profits. They want to see financials. They want to see collateral. They want to see cash flow. They want to see increasing net profits. With business credit, none of that is applicable at all. And so that's a really big benefit of business credit. Yes, many of these applications will ask you about how long you've been in business, your revenue, those type of things, but it's not based on your financials. It's not based on your collateral, as so much business lending actually is. So how do you start this process? Well, believe it or not, choosing the right name is really the first step, because credit issuers and lenders can deny you credit just based on your business name. And it's because some industries are restricted, and credit issuers and banks will not lend to them. So your name alone could allude to you being in one of these high-risk industries. So you want to choose your name carefully and try to make it as general as possible, something that might not reference your industry. And I'll give you an example. I had a business named Elite Credit. And just because the word credit was in our name, we had all kinds of problems with merchant accounts. Our bank accounts shut us down because anybody that was in the credit industry at all, consumer or business, these financial institutions didn't want to work with. We had a new company we created known as Elite Business. So we just removed the word credit, made it business. Elite Business could be any industry. We never had any kind of problems. Now, I'm not telling you to go change your company name because it's kind of a double-edged sword here. You want your name to specify to anybody that's interested what you do. Our name is Credit Suite. People know we have something to do with credit. That's the way we want it. But we also have to know that going in and applying, it's going to make it more difficult to do so. The minute they see credit, they instantly know we're in the financial services. So I'm not telling you need to change your name, but what I am telling you is that you need to be conscious and consciously understand that the name that you have can get you denied at some sources just because it leads them to an industry that might be high risk. So it's very important that you set up your business also using the exact legal name. I just got a question on this the other day. Ty, when I apply, do I use my DBA or my company name? You use both. Your full legal name really will be your actual corporation name with your DBA. So you want to use your exact legal business name. That's your full business name. It should include any DBA filing or any DBA that you have. So ensure your business name is exactly the same on all of the papers you have too. Corporation papers, licenses, bank statements, especially anything out there that's public. So your corporation papers, your licenses, a lot of the stuff is publicly accessible. So it has to match, because some of these credit issuers will dig in. And what if they don't go find your business based on what you put on the application, they'll deny you. As a matter of fact, one of our senior business advisors on our team was one of the biggest bankers at Wells Fargo. And this is one of the biggest reasons that people got denied, believe it or not. They didn't put their full legal name on the application. When they went and searched the name that was provided, they couldn't find that company exactly as it was listed on the application. It was an instant denial. And they never told the company why they were denied. Imagine submitting, all of this paperwork to your bank and getting denied, never knowing why, and it all had to do by the fact that they couldn't find your name because you're going under a DBA or whatever it may be. So you've got to make sure that you have your full legal name. Believe it or not, it really is a starting point, and it really is one of the most common reasons for denial at the big banks. So the next step is you've got to make sure that your actual entity is set up. Okay, now an entity is a corporation. Well, I'll actually give you from Wikipedia. A business entity is an entity that's formed and administered as per commercial law in order to engage in business activities, charitable work, or other activities allowable. Most often, business entities are formed to sell a product or service. So basically, setting up your entity is what allows you to do business legally with your state and federal government. That's what it is. So what is an entity? An entity is a corporation. It's an LLC. It's a sole proprietorship. It's a partnership. Those things are entities. So it's absolutely necessary first step. You cannot go in and start applying without an entity. Now in California, this is very applicable because California setting up a corporation is very expensive. It could cost you $600 to set up your business. Florida's very different. Florida, $60 you set up a business. People set up tons of businesses here just because it's so cheap to do so. So you've got to make sure that you don't just do a DBA. In California, a lot of people just start doing business as a DBA because they can't afford the actual setup of the entity. You can't go getting credit with only a DBA. You have to have that entity set up. Any entity can build business credit, another common question that I get. But you have to understand that entities by default give you liability. So if you're a partnership or a sole proprietorship, you are personally liable for what happens in your business. That's the way that it is. This is actually why attorneys have to be within those. So you can't have an actual attorney firm be a real corporation. They have to be a partnership, or they have to be a form where they can have personal liability. It's required. They don't want them to go with an entity that has no liability. They need them to be liable. The same with professionals in the medical field. Okay, doctors have the exact same requirements. They have to have an entity that makes them liable because they need to be liable for whatever happens malpractice-wise. So you have to understand that entities have a lot to do with your actual liability. So you want to go with a corporation or LLC because by default, those entities don't make you liable for your personal debts. If you go for, or your business debts, if you were a sole proprietorship or a partnership, you're always going to be personally liable for whatever you do in your business. Even if you build business credit with no personal guarantee, they could still come after you because you chose an entity that makes you personally liable. So know this, talk to your accountant about this, and keep in mind when it comes to corporate credit building and all the way around in general, removing liability, corporations and LLCs are the way to go. So after your entity is set up, next you got to get your EIN number. Okay, now the EIN number is also known as the Federal Employer Identification Number, is the corporate equivalent basically to a Social Security number. Okay, it's the number that the government uses to identify your business. So although it's issued to anyone, you could even get it as an individual who have to pay taxes, who have to pay withholding taxes or employees. So it really doesn't have to be a business. It can be issued to anyone that has to pay withholding taxes or has actual employees. So in order to do business legally, you have to have an EIN number. As a matter of fact, you have to have an EIN number before you can even think about getting a bank account set up. So you can get your EIN number here, irs.gov / all this. I wouldn't even try to write that down. What I would just do is I would just Google how to get an EIN number and look for the irs.gov link only. Listen, you're going to find a lot of links that have gov in it or try to look like they're an IRS link. And we've had clients get in there and get trapped. They pay for their EIN number. You never need to pay for your EIN. It is absolutely free. So make sure you don't use any other link other than irs.gov / whatever, because this is the only real legitimate EIN number that you don't have to pay for. And keep in mind, do not pay for your EIN. It is absolutely free. If you go through irs.gov, you just make sure you use that URL. Anybody else will try to charge you and act like they're an official government website when they're not. So once your entity and EIN are set up, now you need to set up your bank account. This is a very important step because a lot of, not even credit issuers, but a lot of lenders in general look at the date you set up your bank account as the day your company actually started. You know, this is why you never want to get a shelf corporation. They're a complete waste of money because nowadays credit issuers and banks are wise to the fact that people buy aged corporations, so now they just go off your bank account. Okay, we'll get around that. When was your bank account open? Well, wait a minute. I have this aged corporation from 3 years ago. That doesn't matter. It looks like nothing's happened with that and you just set it on the shelf. Looks like a shelf corp. We're going to go off your bank account. So you need to get this set up right away the minute that you get your EIN. Okay, it's important that you get this done immediately. Most banks only require you to deposit $50, $100 to start the account. There usually aren't any setup fees, so that doesn't cost a lot of money to set up a business bank account. And something else to keep in mind, and there's a couple other things that you want to know about setting up a business bank account, because I get these questions. Even if you've had issues with bank accounts personally in the past and you're in check systems, you can still set up a business account. Okay, even with the bank that you defaulted with. So a lot of people, they have this fear that they're going to go into their bank to set up their corporate bank account and their bank is going to not let them because they personally defaulted on another bank account. Well, if you personally default on a bank obligation, they might put you in check systems. But if you go to start a corporation or a business, you're still going to be okay. That check systems listing to you personally will not affect your ability to get a business bank account. The same as if you owe the IRS money. Okay, some people think because they have their taxes are past due, they owe the IRS because they got audited, that they don't want to set up a bank account because the IRS is going to come and take all the money from their bank account. Well, that's actually very possible. But if you have a business bank account, they cannot do this. You could owe the IRS 20 grand. You could have $200,000 in your business bank account. They can't touch your business bank account. So even if you're personally in check systems, even if you personally defaulted on a bank account during checks or owe the IRS money or somebody money and you're worried about them coming after you, they cannot come after your business account. So important things to know before you start setting up your actual bank account. So eventually down the road, when you do go to get bank loans, they'll look at a bank rating to make the decision on whether to lend to you or not. Now, getting a little ahead of ourselves here, okay, because this doesn't really have anything to do whatsoever about building business credit. I'm just giving you heads up. I imagine that one of the reasons you want to build business credit is probably to get yourself some bank loans also. Well, down the road, if you're ever going to get a bank loan, you need to know that banks have their own internal credit scores. The third credit score you have consumer credit scores, you have business business credit scores, you have bank credit scores. And this bank rating basically is based on how much money you have in your bank account. It's an internal bank credit score system that they use to score your business. It's always looked at when you go to get a bank loan, and you have to maintain a balance of $10,000 or more for the best bank rating. Now, a lot of you on this call, I'm sure, don't have $10,000 and aren't keeping your bank account. That's fine. Just keep in mind that when you do go down the road to apply for a bank loan where you're much more established, you need to be maintaining that kind of balance to have even a lendable really bank rating. Your balance will not affect your business credit building, but it will be important down the road as you apply for these kind of bank loans. So eventually down the road when you go, actually I think that's a duplicate slide there. Okay, so when applying for business credit, the next step, now that you've got your EIN, you've got your bank account, you've got your entity, you've got to use a real business address, because now what we're looking at is what you're going to put on the application. When I look at an application, I scrutinize every line, and I ask myself, why are they asking me this question? I'm going to reveal a lot of this to you right now. So with a business address, what they're looking for is a physical address. No P.O. box, no UPS address. You cannot use your home address. If you don't have a business address, you can either get a physical address or go through a place like Regis. They sell virtual addresses where you can get your mail there. Okay, and then there's an address for them, www.1.regis.com. We also have these available on our website. You can go directly to our website, creditsuite.com. Look at the tab at the top that says Finance Suite. If you scroll down, you'll see our partners, and it has all these listed. But if you want to go to Regis Direct, it's www.1.regis.com. They can set up a virtual address. You cannot use a PO, UPS, or home address, or you'll get denied. Okay, with a company like Regis, though, they'll set up an address you can get your mail at. It is a real physical address, but you might not have office space there. So you kind of get the benefits of having a big office on paper because your address is at a big office, but you don't need the actual cost it would take to actually get an office space there, which could be considerable money. So it's a great alternative to having a real physical address if that's your problem. Now, you shouldn't also use a personal home phone or cell phone on your applications either. Okay, this will make you look unestablished. You must use a real business phone number. So you can use a voice over IP number. A place like Ring Central offers a voice over IP number. You could definitely use something like that. You just can't use like a home phone. You can't use a cell phone. So companies like Ring Central are okay, but you do not want to actually go in and use a home phone, cell phone. Okay, you're sure you also get set up with a toll-free number, unless you're doing something like local business only, like a boutique shop that only does local business, or a pizza delivery place, for example. And also make sure you get a fax number. Through a company like Ring Central, you can get all these for like $10. Nowadays, your phone number can be your fax number. It can also be toll-free, and you can get it all pretty cheap at a company like Ring Central for like $10. There's other companies outside of Ring Central. It's who we use, it's who we recommend, because we've seen a lot of success with them, and they're cheap. They're really affordable for what you need. You also need to use a company like List Yourself to get your phone number listed in 411. This is really a very important piece of information, because most people think it's easy to get listed with 411. When I started building my business credit without the Business Finance Suite, which is the system that I eventually used to build my credit, it took me 2 months to even figure out how to get a 411. It's very difficult to do. It's not easy to get listed with 411. But through a company like List Yourself, you can get this done. Your phone number has to be listed in 411. There are some starter sources that you're about to see here that will not approve you unless this is done. Okay, you'd also need to set up a professional website that looks good and describes your product and services. It's often going to be reviewed by credit issuers. And set up a professional email address, so like your name at yourcompany.com. You've got to make sure that you set up a professional email, professional website. It needs to be on that application. You can get an email and a domain at GoDaddy for like $12. If you don't have like an actual website, there's all kinds of website template services out there. Like monstertemplate.com is who I've used in the past, and that you can get a good template for $50 or $80, which looks ridiculously professional, and then you or a web designer can put in all the content to the website. So I mean, you could really set up your own website for less than $100. It looks really good if you're using a template from a place like Monster.com and you get the domain, the email from a place like GoDaddy for like $12 or something to that effect. So you want to ensure your business has proper licenses required for your industry, county, state, and federal government. You won't get money or credit if you're not properly licensed. If you're a contractor and you're out there running around without the proper licenses and they do research and see that you're not licensed, you're just not going to get approved. Also, you have to ensure your name is listed properly and exactly the same on all these documents. And I'm coming back to this. Bank statements, utility statements, corporation papers, they might ask for any of those things. Probably not bank statements, but utility statements, corporation papers, these things can be asked for. A lot of that stuff is public record. Your name needs to be the same on all of these. If not, it creates all kinds of problems and suspicions. So you also need to get a DUNS number to even start the business credit building process. Okay, it's one of the first steps. It's why we're talking about it early on here. So D&B credibility, keep in mind, is not Dun & Bradstreet. Okay, I just saw something the other day that Dun & Bradstreet credibility has now 6 class action lawsuits. Guys, they just opened less than 10 years ago, less than 5 years ago. They've opened and they now have 6 class action lawsuits. Just so you understand why, their practices are that Dun & Bradstreet credibility basically will call a business, say you're unestablished, it looks like you're going into bankruptcy, you have no credit, you need credit, and they basically talk the people into getting thousands of dollars in credit monitoring they don't need, okay, by scare tactics, and none of it's legitimate. So they got a really bad rap on their marketing practices. They've got all kinds of lawsuits. What you need to know is this: Dun & Bradstreet is not Dun & Bradstreet credibility. Okay, Dun & Bradstreet's been around since the 1870s. They had like 5 U.S. presidents who have worked for them at some point in time. Dun & Bradstreet credibility has just opened up less than 5 years ago, and they're already in a lot of legal trouble from their practices. The reason I tell you this is because you do not want to buy a package. And if Dun & Bradstreet credibility calls you, or if you apply for something on their website and they contact you back, they're going to try to sell you a credit builder package that's thousands of dollars. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's not value in what they sell. They sell a package that adds trade references to your credit report. So if you think that's valuable, so be it. I'm about to show you a way to get business credit using real credit, not going to Ring Central and having them added as a supplement to your report, which is ultimately what the references are. But what I am here to tell you is you do not need to pay for a DUNS number. A DUNS number is absolutely free. So do not let anybody at these companies try to convince you that you have to pay for one you don't. Just Google free DUNS number and follow the links to get set up. For example, there's the link right there, dnb.com/get a DUNS number. But don't even write that down. Just Google free DUNS number, and it'll take you to where you can get a free DUNS number. Just keep in mind, if you fill out that information, D&B credibility might call you. They might try to sell you something. They might insist that for you to get your DUNS number and credit file active, you have to pay them. You don't have to pay them a dime. I'm going to show you how to build business credit without costing you any money except for whatever you're using the credit to buy. So do not get bamboozled and conned into spending money that you do not have to spend believing that you do. So after you've done these things, next you've got to get your business credit reports, because business credit building is all about trade lines. It's all about payment experiences. And now a payment experience is the reporting of an account to a business bureau. So if an account reports to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian, that counts as 2 payment experiences. But if that account only reported to Experian, then it counts as 1 payment experience. Payment experiences are important, so now you know what those are. So to effectively build business credit, you have to monitor your business credit reports to see these payment experiences being added. You'll need to see this so you know when it's time to apply for credit to build your credit profile and score. So for example, you've got to have 5 payment experiences before you get Dell, Best Buy, and Amazon type credit scores or credit cards. So you've got to be able to monitor your report to see these payment experiences being added, so you know when it's time to start applying for credit. So you need to be monitoring your credit so you know when you have those actual payment experiences reporting. Now you should be monitoring your credit through Experian and Dun & Bradstreet both. Okay, you can go to their sites directly to enroll for credit monitoring. You can also go to our site. We have a page, creditsuite.com/reports, where you can get them all. You can get Equifax, Experian, Dun & Bradstreet, Creditera. You can get your business FICO score. You can get everything there. So it's creditsuite.com/reports will get you that, or you can go directly to their sites. You can also use Creditera. Now, Creditera gives you a snapshot of your reports, but not your full reports. Sometimes that's okay. You know, I was just talking to a client today. His problem is he has all kinds of damage to his Experian, and Creditera didn't tell him what the damage was. So he had to get his full Experian to see what the damage was. So Creditera will give you a snapshot of trade lines, but it won't give you the real in-depth details, but it's cheaper than buying them individually. So whatever works for you, just know you have to at least use Creditera or Dun & Bradstreet or Experian. You need to be watching these payment experiences get on your report so you know when it's the time to apply. There you go. There's that link right there. creditsuite.com/reports. You can get all of those there, or you can go directly to the sources. It doesn't really matter either way. We just get so many questions about this that we created one page with all of them to make it easily accessible. So next step, here we are. Okay, you've done a lot of the important legwork. You got your company set up correctly. You got your licenses, your entity to remove liability. You got your EIN, your bank account. You made sure your phone number and your address and everything you're going to put on your application is legitimate. And I can't tell you the value of what I've just said. Okay, I understand that we flew through it in 30 minutes because I talk kind of fast and I have a lot of content to get into an hour. But you have to understand, if any one of those one things is wrong, you can get denied. Here's the problem with that. They will not tell you why you got denied. So if you get denied and don't know why, it could be because of any of those reasons I just talked about that you skipped. That's why you have to make sure you follow these steps as I've outlined, because if you don't, I've just given you all the major reasons we see people get declined. I'm trying to make it so you don't get stuck, because if you get stuck, you get denied and you never even are told why you get denied, and then you have to try to figure it out, and it's usually not something you'd think about. Like I said, most people wouldn't think they got denied because they couldn't even find their company name because they didn't include their DBA. So even though we flew through it, that stuff is very vital for you to even have a shot of getting business credit. So make sure you get those things done. Now make sure you get vendor accounts first. That's your next step. After you've done these things, you've got access to your reports to see your building. Now you need to start actually getting vendor accounts. So after you set up this credibility, it's time to start getting real credit, real business credit. So when establishing business credit, you've got to know that there's 3 types of credit you can get. Vendor credit, starter accounts that offer net 30 terms. This is where you have to start. So many people try to start in other places. Okay, you've got to actually start with vendor credit first. Next, you move to revolving credit, store credit, like we're talking about in this webinar. We're going to talk about Amazon. We're going to talk about Dell. Okay, these are stores. Then you move into cash credit, MasterCard. Somebody actually put a comment on my YouTube channel yesterday. They said, hey, I'm trying to apply for a Chase Inc. card and it's asking for my social. And my first response is, well, you must have really good business credit established if you're jumping into a Chase revolving cash credit card. And they said, nope, I don't have any. Well, you cannot start there. If you were to apply at a store, if you were to apply for a Visa or MasterCard using your EIN only with no credit established, you'd get denied. It's the same as in the consumer world. If you walked into Target, Walmart, Amazon, and tried to get credit with no credit established, they would all deny you. They require a business credit profile. They require a business credit store to get approved. This is why you have to start in this order. Vendor credit first, net 30 accounts. Then you move on to store revolving. Then you finally end up with cash credit, which takes about 6 months. So now you'll see a lot of people call these things by different names, but I just call them exactly what they are because I think it's easy for you to understand them that way. Vendor credit, vendors that offer net 30 terms. Store credit, any credit you're going to get at a store. Cash credits, Visa, MasterCard, American Express type credit. So the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make that I see is they apply for store or cash credit first. But stores and banks aren't going to approve you if you don't have any credit already established for your EIN. If you try to apply for store cash credit first, you're 100% going to get denied. So you must get approved with vendors who offer net 30 accounts first. Then after you use those accounts and pay the bills, the accounts will get reported to the business credit reporting agencies. Then and only then will you have an established business credit profile and score, because now you have trade lines or those payment experiences reporting. And once your business credit credit's established, then you can start to get approved for store revolving credit. Understand, if you skip the process of getting vendor, just because you have an EIN doesn't mean you have credit. You don't. You can't just go in and go, I have an EIN, give me money. That doesn't work that way. They need to see your EIN has credit. Then they'll give you money. So you've got to keep in mind, you have to get vendor accounts, they report, then you get this crucial business credit profile and score. That is what's used to springboard you into actual revolving store and cash credit. So you must get approved with vendor accounts who offer these net 30 terms. Then after you use those accounts and pay your bills, I don't know why I've got a duplicate there. So let's take a look at some of these true starter vendor accounts. So you've got to start a business credit profile and score with starter vendors. So it's not even enough that you just go get net 30 vendor accounts. You need starter vendors. There are special ones that will be ones that will help you if you have no credit established yet. Okay, but if you go in and you don't have any credit, that doesn't mean you're just going to start getting approved for vendor accounts. Okay, there's only certain ones that really are starter accounts that will help you if you have no business credit established. So starter vendors are ones who will give you this initial credit even if you have no credit, no score, no trade lines, no profile now. Most stores like Staples will not give you initial starter credit, so don't even think of applying. Okay, somebody said to me the other day, I went to Best Buy and got turned down. I go, well, Best Buy is not a vendor. They're a revolving account. They said, well, I didn't know it was a store. Well, yes, Best Buy. All those companies are stores. You can't apply there. You've got to go through these vendor accounts first. So Laughlin and Associates is one of these starter vendors. I'm putting their website, LaughlinUSA.com, so you can actually see what that is. So LaughlinUSA.com is their actual website. Now, they deal with corporate setup and compliance services. Okay, so they help you with your corporate minutes. They help you with entity setup. Anything to do with setting up and running your corporation, they offer services. They report to Experian. Okay, only 411 listing and EIN are required. Now keep in mind, this is why I told you what you must do first before you get here. Okay, so you can only have a 411 listing and EIN and get approved. That's why I call it a starter vendor, because even with no credit, just with these two things, you can get approved, and they're fast to report. You got to buy whatever it is that they're selling. You got to buy something of whatever it is they're selling to be able to get the credit, because the credit's with them, obviously. But once you get credit and buy whatever it is that they're selling that you want to buy using that credit, then within 30 to 60 days it reports to the business credit reporting agency, which is Experian. And they're going to offer you net 30 terms. Now, another one is Quill. Now, Quill actually sells office packaging and cleaning supplies. This is a very valuable starter vendor because, you need office supplies. I don't care what kind of business you're in. You need something that an office supply store sells. So there's always stuff you could really buy here. Like Laughlin and Associates, you might not need anything they have. You might not. But Quill, of course you will, because they sell office supplies. Everybody needs highlighters and pens and that kind of stuff. They report to Dun & Bradstreet, but you've got to understand how it is that you get approved with them. First, you've got to place an initial order of $50 or more, okay? Then you need to go in and you need to try to apply for their credit line upon checkout. But unless your D&B score is established, you're probably not going to get approved. So that means you need to submit 2 or 3 of these kind of $50 orders to get the net 30 account. This is why I showed you Laughlin. Laughlin and Associates has no barriers. The only barrier is you got to buy their stuff. You buy their stuff, they report. It's no barriers. A place like Quill, though, has stuff that you really want. I mean, this is stuff you're really going to buy and use. But there's a barrier. The barrier is with no credit established with D&B, they might make you make 2 or 3 orders with them of $50 or more before they give you the credit. But if you go in with no credit established and start with Quill, you're going to get denied when you first apply for the credit. It's expected. I'm giving you a heads up. Expect it to happen. Okay, what you need to do is place 2 or 3 orders, and on your second or third order of $50 and applying, then they're actually going to give you the credit. So worst case, they'll put you on a 90-day repayment schedule. If you order items each month for 3 months, they typically approve you for a net 30 account then. You're going to get approved here. It's just a matter of, do you have any credit established? Nope, they're probably going to deny deny your application for credit on the first order. You might need 2 or 3 orders. Worst case scenario, on that second or third order, they put you on a 90-day prepayment schedule and they give you a net 30 count after that. Okay, but one way or the other, you can get this account. It just depends on do you have any initial business credit established or not. Now, Gimpler's is very similar. Work supplies and products, all kinds of stuff you could use. They report to DMB. Okay, place an initial order of $50 and select the invoice me option when you're using them. They will pull your business credit, and if not established, they'll require you place some orders first, exactly like I just told you for Quill. And if not approved, prepay for the order and keep purchasing $50 or more and choosing this invoice me option until approved for net 30. They don't want you to just come in and buy from them to get credit. That's not what they want. So if they see that the first time you have no credit, they might deny you. But when they see you come back again and again and a second or third time, well, now they know you very well could be a repeat customer and they want to give you this credit. That's how that's actually going to work. Reliable office supplies. Office supplies, promotional products. They report to DMB, Experian, and Equifax. Very valuable. There's 3 payment experiences here in one account. Very valuable. Very few do this. So you need to know that. You've got to place it in order first. Initial order, then request your order be invoiced or billed to your company. They will then pull your business credit, and if you're not approved, you got to follow the exact same. And this is really the same process. I mean, it's good and bad. You know, the sacrifice is, yes, you might have to buy $100, $150 worth of stuff from them. It's probably stuff you're going to use anyways, but you got to buy it from them versus the staples who you normally would. The good is it's worth the sacrifice. By taking this step, you get a business credit profile and score, and once you have that, the whole world opens up to you, as you're about to see. But you've got to make an initial sacrifice when you build business credit, and the initial sacrifice is usually that you've got to buy a little bit of stuff at these stores. Now, again, if you look at a company like D&B Credibility, they'll add payment experiences to your report, which will cost you $2 to $3 grand. If you go this way of using your credit to get credit, well, then you might only spend $100 and $150 at each one of these places. So you maybe will spend $300, $400, $500 in total stuff that you're buying to be able to get the payment experiences that you need. And again, other companies like Lachlan, you don't need to buy anything from them. So it just depends on which of these sources you choose. So with Reliable, again, the more orders you place at $50, the better chance you have of getting approved for that net 30 actual account. Uline shipping supplies, shipping, packaging, and industrial supplies. They report to DMB. You've got to have a DUNS number to get approved. They're going to ask for 2 references and a bank reference. This is why I told you have to have a bank account. Okay, again, you've got to the first few $50 orders might need to be prepaid initially to get reported for net 30 terms. Now, again, all of these don't have to be that way. If you got started with Gimpler's and Uline, and you did prepay the few orders and then they give you credit, well, then you'll have trade lines and you probably don't need to do the same thing for Uline. So keep that in mind. You know, you only have to have 1 or 2 accounts really, and once you have a couple accounts reporting, then you have a payment experiences, then you have a credit score and credit profile. Then you can go into a place like Uline and get approved. But if you have nothing with Uline, you might need to place those few orders. If you already did place those orders and get accounts here with Reliable or Gimpler's, well, then by the time you get to Uline, you already have your business credit established and be able to actually do it without needing that. So remember, you'll need a total of 5 vendor accounts to start getting store credit. Okay, I just showed you about 10 payment experiences. Actually, I think about 7 or 10. So that's about double what you're going to need. So find the credit you want, apply without using your Social Security number. You got to leave that Social Security number off the application. Start using that credit and pay your bills early. Okay, so, and again, if you need your business credit reports, I already showed you that too. So you do not want to use your Social Security number when applying, no matter what they tell you. If you use your social, they're going to pull your personal credit. It's as simple as that. If you provide your social, they're going to pull your personal credit, which you don't really want, because then you're going to be applying a personal guarantee. The only way to ensure this doesn't happen is to leave the Social Security number field on the application blank. I'm telling you this because people ask me this all the time. Well, Ty, the Social Security number field is still there even though I have business credit. It's always going to be there, because why would they not put it there? If you're willing to give your personal guarantee, they're going to take it. But again, just like I told you earlier about the example of somebody saying that they were trying to get an ink Chase card, but yet the Social Security number required it online, great, then call them and ask them to fax you or email the application. But do not put that Social Security number on the application unless you're expecting a personal credit check and a personal guarantee. So here are the steps that are essential during this process. You've got to find the vendors you want to get approved for. I just gave you a bunch. The ones you'll use the most are the ones that report the quickest. Lachlan reports the quickest. Okay, Quill or Uline might be ones that you use the most. You got to apply for those accounts, okay, using their online applications. Keep in mind you might need to place a few orders first, as we just talked about, to get approved if you have no business credit now. Very small price to pay to get access to business credit. Then you use the credit, so they approve you. Now you use the credit to make the purchases, preferably at $50 or more. Okay, once you use your accounts, then you pay the bill as soon as the bill is available. Your D&B Paydex score, for one, is completely based on when you pay. Your Experian and Tele score is primarily based on this also. So the earlier you pay, the better your score. Okay, listen, a lot of us wish the consumer credit scores were this easy. Imagine if your whole credit score was based on if you paid your bill early or not. Welcome to the business world. It's a glorious thing. But in order for you to benefit from it, you got to pay your bills early. If you pay your bill on time, you're going to get a lower score than if you paid it early. If you pay it late, well then depending on how late you pay it will determine your score. So the minute they let you pay the bill to give yourself the absolute highest score you can get. Okay, pay it as soon as you get it, because it'll make or break that initial business credit score that you actually get. So finally, monitor your business credit reports and watch the accounts get reported. After you follow these steps, now you're going to watch them get reported. Allow for about 30 to 90 days for them to report. Okay, if for some reason they don't report within 90 days, call them and ask them why not. Doesn't happen very often. Okay, Dun & Bradstreet says it takes up to 3 reporting cycles for your accounts to report. That's up to 90 days. We see them typically happen within 30 days. So if you get approved with Gempler's credit, you use the credit, you pay the bill. Usually from 30 days from when you pay the bill, you're going to expect your trade line to show up with D&B. Okay, give it up to 90 days because D&B says it could take up to 90 days. Okay, experience the same, but it usually happens sooner than later. And once you have 5 payment experiences, then it's time to move on to the next step of actually getting store credit. So once you have these 5 payment experiences, next you can start to get revolving store credit cards. Remember, that's the second type of credit we talked about, credit cards that are revolving available through stores. Keep in mind, again, all applications ask for your social, but you do not need to provide your social on the application. I will say this 1,000 times because it's one of the most important things you need to know when building business credit. And if you walk into a store like Nordstrom and try to get their business credit card, they're going to tell you have to put the social on there because they don't know any different. So very few people, a very small percentage of the population knows you can do this. You need to know it. Good chance some of the creditors you're applying for don't even know it, so you need to know that you can leave that social blank. If you do supply your social, again, they're going to pull that personal credit, and if it's bad, you will get denied. When you leave the social blank, they'll pull your EIN credit instead, and once they see that you have business credit established, okay, and these payment experiences, then you're able to get approved for store credit. Not until it happens, but once it does, you can start getting revolving store credit. Now, what's important to know is that most major retailers do offer business credit as well as consumer credit. Staples, Office Depot, Home Depot, Lowe's, Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Radio Shack, Best Buy, BP, Chevron, Amazon, Shell. I mean, almost every single major retailer out there offers business credit. Okay, they just don't promote it, but they do. Now, some sources like Staples and Home Depot might have more stringent approval requirements. Want to see big revenue in 3 years in business for approval with no personal guarantee. Okay, Home Depot is notorious for this. Staples is becoming notorious for it too. You can't just go in and get a Staples card or Home Depot. They'll require you have really extensive business credit or 3 years in business or make like millions of dollars to get approved for no personal guarantee credit. So you will get these down the road, but they might not be early starter revolving accounts. These are ones you get when you have 10, 15, 20 payment experiences, not 5. But most sources do not have those kind of requirements. Most of them don't require a certain time in business or certain revenue, okay, if your business credit's established. That's what they're looking for. If you have business credit established. If you have business credit established, if you have 20 payment experiences, you're probably going to get Staples or Home Depot, even if you don't have 3 years in business. But you've got to have extensive business credit to get it. Most other sources aren't like that. If you have good business credit established, they're going to approve you. So let's talk about one of the first ones that we actually want to dive into, Dell. They obviously sell computers and computer accessories. I think all of us know that by now about Dell. They've done a very good job of telling us who they are and what they do. They report to Dun & Bradstreet. Now, they're looking for a 75 paid X or higher for approval. What does this mean? It means you basically pay your bill on time. An 80 paid X by definition literally means you pay your bill on time. So 75 means, it's not even a week late, you're paying it. The week that it's due, you're paying it. That's what a 75 paid X means. So again, what's beautiful about business credits, you can get a 75 paid X really quick. It's just in order to get the 75 paid X, you got to get the bills and pay them on time. Okay, so again, an 80 paid X reflects that you paid the bills on time. So to get approved, you'll need to have your vendor accounts reporting, have an established profile and score with D&B, and have paid your bills on time. Okay, you should also be in business for 6 months to get approved, or they will typically then ask you for a personal guarantee. Okay, now since you're probably going to spend 90 days getting your vendor credit accounts anyways, so it's not that much longer for you to wait that 6 months to actually get Dell, but you really should have multiple accounts reporting to D&B with good scores. If not, they will want to see personal credit for approval, period. This is why I've walked you through the steps. By now, you should have multiple accounts reporting to D&B. If you look at those vendors and who they report to that I just talked about, now you'll have multiple accounts with D&B, and that's what they want to not want to see your personal credit. Okay, this is why you building the vendor accounts is just absolutely so vital. They will ask you for your company name, birth date, mother's maiden name for password information, and ID numbers including your driver's license and EIN. To get approved, here's the number, 800-999-3355, 800-999-3355. 800-999-3355 and ask for their commercial account department. This is a revolving account. It's not a net 30 account. Also keep in mind they usually issue very high limits, but they'll also match your current limit. So if you wait and apply them later in the process, you'll get up to $10,000 we see with Dell is pretty common. So the higher vendor account limits you have before applying, the more credit you'll get. Okay, I talk to people that have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in vendor credit before they get with Dell. And the higher limit you have on the individual accounts, the more money you're going to get. So Amazon.com, online shopping including books and a lot more. They report to D&B, Experian, and Equifax, so a really good account to have. To get approved with no personal guarantee, you have to have an EIN number and be in business for 3 years, unless you can actually get approved not being in business for 3 years, depending on the quality of your business credit. Common theme, I'm going to tell you with all of these, most of them, even like Amazon, they require 3 years, but for our clients, this is one of their starter accounts. Most of our clients get Amazon as one of their very first revolving accounts. As a matter of fact, just today, I saw an actual approval for $1,400 from Amazon. That was one of the first accounts the person had actually secured. And they weren't in business 3 years, but they did what I had instructed. They got the vendor accounts. They had accounts established before they went in and applied. If you're a new business and have little or no payment history, they ask for a PG. Why am I telling you this? Because a lot of people come to me and say, well, Ty, I went to Amazon and they asked for a personal guarantee. Yep. Here's why. You didn't have enough business credit established with vendor accounts. Did you? No, I don't have any. That's why they required this. And they think that just because they're asked for a PG, that means all Amazon gives is PG credit. That's not actually true at all. Amazon gives non-personal guarantee and personal guarantee if your business credit's established. If you went to Amazon without your business credit established, then they would ask for that personal guarantee. Initially, don't give them your social, okay, as you can get approved without a PG if you have good business credit and multiple payment experiences, good scores with D&B and Experian. If you were to give them the social, again, they would report the account on your TransUnion personal, so you don't want to do that, or it's going to report on your personal credit with Amazon. Even if you go this route, it's still a great starter account that will really help you grow your business. So look, even if you want to jump to Amazon and give the personal guarantee, it's still a good account because it's going to build your business credit, right? But if you want no personal guarantee, then you've got to make sure you come into this with payment experiences with D&B and Experian to actually get approved, or Amazon is going to require that personal guarantee. But again, I'm telling you, either way, it's good. I mean, even if you had to give them a personal guarantee, you could always get the account, cancel it, and reapply once your business credit's further established. It's still a really good account to have, but try to follow the steps I've outlined here so you can actually get the account without a personal guarantee. Limits are usually $500 to $2,500. All new accounts will get called by Amazon to verify authenticity. Actually, they have GE Capital as their underwriter. That's probably who's going to call you. And this is a true revolving account. It's not a net 30 account. Let's look at Walmart. Retail mega superstore. Don't need to tell you what they do. They report to Experian or Equifax. Okay, it's usually one or the other, not both. To get approved, you should have business credit established with both D&B and Equifax. Your paydex with D&B should be 75 or higher. We talked about what that means. Reflecting you pay your bills on time. You want to apply without your social. Okay, if you have enough multiple paid as agreed business accounts reporting, you should get approved without the personal guarantee. And by now, I've walked you through more than enough accounts you can get to have this happen. So if you don't get approved due to lack of credit, remember that's the only reason you're not going to get approved without a personal guarantee is lack of credit. Then they'll give you the opportunity of reapplying with the personal guarantee. So if you try it without your social and you get denied, they're going to tell you it's because you don't have enough business credit established and give you a chance to reapply with the personal guarantee if you want. To get approved, you'll need to apply in a store or through fax with them. Okay, this is a revolving credit card, not a net 30 account. Okay, so once you have a total of 10 of these payment experiences, then you can start getting cash credit cards. Okay, Visa, MasterCard, even Amex are cards you can use anywhere, not just cards you can use in one store like a Staples card, for example. And it's recommended that at least one of these accounts has a $10,000 high limit before you move on and take the next step of getting actual cash credit. So I just walked you through the entire process of everything you need to know, avoiding the pitfalls of business credit, what business credit is, benefits of business credit, the step-by-step process. I've given you 7 to 10 payment experiences you can get from vendors initially. Those will give you a business credit profile, a business credit score, and payment experiences. Using your established payment experiences, your credit profile and score, you then move in to the accounts that I showed you with Dell and with Amazon and with Walmart. You start getting those. You know the only reason you won't get approved for a no personal guarantees, you don't have enough credit established. And I talked to you about both ways. I talked to you about how you could get the no PG and how you could get the PG. No matter what your situation is, you can still get approved for those kind of accounts. And then I've even walked you through, once you're taking those steps, you're probably at that point going to have 10 payment experiences, and then you can actually start getting real cash credit. So I've just walked you through the entire process of building business credit. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of this hour. Again, if you do have any other questions, feel free to check us out online, creditsuite.com/business credit. Also, check me out on iTunes. I do have a podcast on iTunes, and if you search my name, you're probably going to find my actual podcast. It's also called the Business Credit and Finance Show. And you can also check out my YouTube channel. If you just search business credit in YouTube, I'm about 40% of the first page, or you can search my name. And on my YouTube channel, in my podcast, I give you everything you need to know to be successful. More just training just on the credibility point, more training just on more starter vendors you can get, more training on revolving accounts. So I give you a ton of extra details, everything you would need to be able to build your business credit. If we can help you during this process, or you want to make money offering business credit financing, feel free to reach out to us, creditsuite.com/business credit, or give us a call, 877-600-2487. Thank you so much, everybody. I don't have time for questions. I have another event starting here in 4 minutes, but if you do have any questions, feel free to give us send us an email or give us a call. Our number is 877-600-2487, or send an email to info@creditsuite.com. That's info@creditsuite.com. Thanks everybody very much for taking the time to attend this webinar. Hope you got a lot out of it, and I hope you all have a very good day. Thanks everybody.